Hi, I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. I don't have tons of stuff to show tonight, but I've got a few things that I'd like to show as far as project updates. I haven't done a whole lot of yarn shopping, but I've got a few things that I want to share. And then a couple weeks ago, I mentioned that I had ordered some yarn from Ravelry, which I know sounds like a very strange statement, but I can show you what I mean by that and show you how to go about doing that. It's a cool little trick if you are working on a project and you run short on something, or you are trying to find something that's discontinued, and you can search around on Ravelry and I can show you how to use that feature. I guess first off, welcome to everyone who joined me. Thanks for joining, and I actually didn't even realize that it was Tuesday, but about I don't know, half an hour ago or so, I realized, oh hey, it's Tuesday and we need a live stream. So I imagine most of you, your days are blurring together just like mine. And I'm even still working, but I just get notices on my computer that tell me what meetings to go to, because like I said, days are starting to blur together a bit. So but anyway, welcome and thank you for joining us tonight. And yeah, so I guess we'll get started. There's a couple people saying hello in the comments. Helen and CZ and Copperpot, welcome to all of you. And welcome to anybody else who's watching who hasn't commented. Thanks for joining. So all right, so one of the things that I've got that I wanted to show you guys, this is a project bag that I picked up from Celestial Strings. She makes really nice project bags, and I've said this before, but I am capable of sewing, but she gets really cool limited edition patterns, and she makes really nice bags, and so a lot of times I'll just buy a project bag from her. So, you guys have seen my Harry Potter bag. I've got I'm trying to think if there's any around here. I've got a Harry Potter one. I've got a How to Train Your Dragon one. And then I've got a really cool, like, succulent or lotus blossom or something bag. All that I've ordered. Two of them are drawstring. Two of them are these, knot Japanese knot style bags. And so this one was kind of a neat mason jar and firefly with the colors of my hair kind of mixed in. So I went ahead and ordered it. I thought it was really cool. So I'll hold it up again so you guys can see a little bit clearer. But yeah, if you're looking for somebody to support, I quite like Celestial Strings. I don't know. I've bought from her before, and I like the quality of the bags, and they've all held up, and they're really cool, like limited edition type prints. Like I said, these are not your run of the mill find them in Hobby Lobby or Joann Fabric type fabrics. These are like special runs from small companies, so they are a little on the pricier side, but totally reasonable, I think. Especially for something that I get so much use out of. So that's that. I wanted to share that. Let's see. Do you remember what the name of this yarn was? Okay. So this is one of the ice yarns that my husband turned into like a thin tube scarf. And then once we took it off, I crocheted on the end, just sort of a little edge. So I've got a couple of different finishes on here. But I just wanted to kind of show and share a little update here. So this yarn worked up, I think, better than what was the other one called, now that the Universe. The Universe was extremely grabby and didn't want to knit up at all. So these are machine knit on a little circular knitter and then crocheted edges. And he's looking up the name on this yarn. I don't remember what it was. It's something maybe with an M. I don't remember. We're working on it. But yeah, so this worked out pretty well. It's got this neat little gold sort of filament running through it. And yeah, so this is something that we've been working on. Morella. So this is Ice Yarns Morella. I think it's a chainette construction. Yeah, it looks like it's a little chainette construction. Has quite a bit of halo, really bright colors. But I think it worked out pretty nice. It's a little bit thin. Like the scarf itself from the circular knitter, I think. But the overall product, I think, worked up very nice. So, wonder if we can actually like turn these into socks. They look like the tops of socks to me. Yeah. So I wonder if you could stop and then like make the heel and finish crocheting or something, and you'd have like knit tops.
There's lots of patterns to make socks on that knitter.
Yeah. So he's saying there are lots of patterns to make socks. I could use some really cozy, fluffy socks, actually. It's been chilly around here. So anyway, that's how that works up. I know several of you were interested in the ice yarn, so I wanted to keep you updated on what we're working up with those. And we'll probably get some reviews done at some point. But I just wanted to share that with you. So that's the Morella. And I think this is is this one ball or is this two?
It's just over one ball.
Okay,
it's maybe like 1.5.
It's like 1.5 balls of yarn. So it's a little over one full ball. It probably could be shorter. You probably could have gotten away with one, but two, I think, makes a nicer length. Let's see. What else do I have? A few weeks back, I opened up a shipment from Lion Brand, and one of the yarns was missing, and that yarn was Lion Brand Rebound. And so then we came back a couple weeks after that, and that yarn had showed up. And so this is Lion Brand Rebound. And I don't have the label on here, but it's 100% nylon, and it is very, very weird. It's crazy stretchy, so you guys can see on there like how far I can stretch this. And it's like soft nylon, like pantyhose. It catches on just everything. Like the whole time I was crocheting, it kept catching on my fingernail, and it just wouldn't stop. Like I got a file, and I filed down my nail, and like it catches on just everything. And then when you do grab it, it looks a bit like or when it does catch, it looks a bit like pantyhose that catch, and it gets those like little, not really a run, but I don't think we can zoom in enough on this for you guys to see it, but it gets like a fuzz where like the fiber frays. It's right here. And so I don't know how well you guys can see that, but there's like a fuzz right here. And yeah, so it's right here. And it just, there's not really anything you can do about it because it's just kind of like, it just kind of grabbed a hold of the fiber and like shredded it. So there, I think you can see it with it tipped that way a little bit better. And it's fine, but like I have no idea what the intended application for this yarn is, because it's so stretchy. Like even when it's worked up, like I can stretch this for like ever. and I just don't know what you're supposed to do with it exactly. I've worked it into what's going to be a cowl. Um and yeah, I don't hate it. I just don't know what its purpose is. Um the colors are interesting. They're pretty bright. And though they're like just this side of neon, they remind me of like what do they call that cosmic bowl at the bowling alley? Like they're I have a feeling that if you wore this to a bowling alley during like Cosmic Bowl, that you would be super glowing. But yeah,
Do you think it actually is blacklight reactive?
it might be. I haven't actually tried it, but it could be black light reactive. But
We have a blacklight
yeah, like I said, I just have no idea what it's for. And then on top of that, Lion Brand has not like posted any patterns or anything like that, so I just not totally sure. So there's you can see it a little bit clearer here if I hold it up, and you can see it's pooling kind of strangely.
It looks cool.
Yeah, I mean it's cool looking. I think it'll be fine. I'm probably gonna turn it into a cowl and give it to a kid, and they'll love it, and it'll be fine. But I just like for as much stretch, I mean, you guys can see like in pretty much any direction, I can just stretch it. And like normally, this edge of a cowl is not stretchy because these are your chains, and this should be pretty rigid. And even like this is my starting chain, and like to get that much stretch out of it is pretty crazy. So I just I don't know what application they intended for this. So um it's cool, it's interesting, it's different. I just not sure what to do with it. So, it would probably make socks, but they would be really stretchy and they might not stay up. They might stay up really well. I'm not really sure, but yeah. So that's that. Again, that's Lion Brand Rebound. I'm gonna kind of flip through comments here. Um, Roving J Hook said that they ordered a bunch from Aaron Lane bags, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, etc. And then asked Celestial Strings. That is the correct company that I ordered from. That Firefly bag.
I looked for them though. I couldn't find them.
You couldn't find Celestial Strings. Facebook is usually how I interact with her. She does a little bit of yarn dyeing and then a lot of bag making.
This looks like a person who plays the harp.
Okay. And then Crochet Critters, could it be for swimming suit patterns? I suppose it probably would dry really quickly. So I suppose you could use it for outdoor or like swim type applications that you want to dry very quickly and have a little bit more flex than normal. One of the things that you'll see too is it's curling up pretty bad and it's absolutely not going to block. Because I mean you can stretch it forever, but it's not gonna stay. It's basically just elastic. So, yeah. So, I mean, like I said, it's pretty cool stuff, but it's definitely weird. So, swim type application might be interesting. I don't remember what other colors it came in. If they were all, like this bright shades of colors or what they were. I just remember seeing that color and buying it because obviously it's all of my favorite hair colors and things like that. So
They're all bright.
they're all bright. So does it give any indication on their
There's no pattern. There's no pictures. There's no review.
nothing in the description even that says like perfect for your favorite.
It says it keeps stitches from stretching out too quickly in items like hats and mittens.
Okay, so they're suggesting hats and mittens so that they don't stretch out too quickly. And I know a little bit of what they're talking about. If you sort of like if you wear jeans too many days in a row, in particular women's jeans, if you wear them like you can get like 3 good days of wear and then they're like too stretched out and they won't spring back and you've got to like wash them again to sort of reset them in a lot of cases cuz it's usually like thinner material and stuff. And so I imagine that's the sort of the same thing that they're talking about is that if you make mittens or a hat and it stretches out too much and then it won't stay. So I guess that's probably what they're targeting. But it's definitely a weird yarn. So oh, and then it's your comment on posting the link to Celestial Strings. All right, what else do I have? Well, I did bring my loom down and showed you guys that I was working on weaving a scarf. And I got the first thing off of the scarf. And it looks a bit like blue burlap. I'm not disappointed with it, but it is a little bit weird. And I'm not totally sure what I want to do with it. I definitely can see, so this was the first project that I made on my loom, and I definitely can see that my seams got so much better as I worked, or not my seam, but my selvages, really, is my edges, but you can see there's dips and problems throughout, but again, my first project, and I'm reasonably proud of it, but it, yeah, if you look along here, you can see the edges are not perfectly straight, but the fabric turned out pretty. I think that the blue on blue, if I tip it like that, you can see pretty well. The sort of the kettle dye nature of the yarn gives a very rustic look to it. But if you look on that way. Sorry. This is my very first edge, and you can see it's much worse. It's much more ragged, and there's like bumps on the edge here. It's not terrible, but it's certainly worse than the other end, which got a lot cleaner. So, you can definitely see that I got better as I went. I need to figure out what I want to do with my fringe here. Unlike crochet, where you add fringe as a feature, weaving, you get fringe whether you want it or not. And you can get rid of it, usually seemingly very painfully. So, from what I've seen, you can, like, actually sew in every single end. That sounds horrible. The other option is that you can stitch across here and cut it, just like you would with fabric. So you can serge it, or you can cut it, or whatever you want to do. But you can just treat it like fabric because it's fabric. But yeah, I don't know what I'm going to use it for. So I can leave this as a scarf, or I can use it as fabric. So I could cut it into some other shape or whatever and use it as, like an applique or something like that. The other thing about it is I used BFL, and it's not scratchy, but it is like coarse. I don't really know how to describe the hand feel difference, but it's not soft and it's not squishy. And it doesn't feel quite like burlap, but it doesn't feel great. So, yeah. Project number 1 is done. I'm pretty happy with it. I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. It might make a pretty fall or spring scarf. So, but otherwise, it's just fabric. So we'll see what I end up doing with it. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys since it's I shared the loom with you, and then I'm working on deciding what I want to do for my next project. So I've got a couple of different options. I am on a couple of Facebook groups that people share pictures, and there's some really interesting plaids. Alternatively, I have some yarn, lots and lots of yarn, sitting in bins over here, and there are some other options that I've come up with. One of the things that has been really popular is buffalo plaid, which is basically like the giant checks with just the two colors. You'll see all of the Christmas decorations that were like black and red check patterns, usually like with a pickup truck, sort of intermingled. It was a very like popular theme this year in Christmas decorations. Those are all buffalo plaid. So it's like red square, red / black square alternating all throughout. So I've got some colors that I think would be pretty interesting in that. So anyway, that's first woven project off the loom. The other thing that I've got that I've considered doing, I'm going to open this up and show you guys. I actually haven't even opened this set up. It's very crinkly. All right. Let me get the cellophane off of here before it drives everybody crazy. So this is a kit from Ashford that is to make tea towels. So just cotton towels, you know, for the kitchen. This is 8/2 cotton wrapped nylon. So it has a nylon core, it's wrapped in cotton, and then 8/2 is the size of the yarn. So it's 8/2 is how it's written. The 8 is its cotton count, or yeah, the 8 is the cotton count or the yarn weight, and then the 2 is how many plies it is. So it's a 2-ply yarn that is an 8 single for each ply. And what that means is a horrible antiquated system that continues to persist. But English cotton count is how many 840-yard lengths are in a pound. So in every pound of 8 single, there's 8 240-yard lengths. 840-yard lengths. So whatever 8 times 840 is, there's that many yards in a pound of 8 single. When it's 2-ply, it's half as much yardage for the same amount of pounds. So because, and none of that is terribly important, but basically what it means is that it's a very fine yarn. An 8 2-ply is a 4 single equivalent. For reference, the yarn that you would use in a t-shirt is on the order of like a 20 to 30 single. So, and it's a bit heavier than the individual threads in your t-shirt. It's a little bit heavier than the individual threads in your jeans, but is way, way, way finer than most things that you would use for like crocheting. So, in that regard, it's perfect for making something like dish towels. So, that is what I intend to do. I'm just trying to see here. There's some more pictures on here so you can kind of get an idea of what types of things that you can do here. So you can see there's all these like different striped and color blocked options. And I got the kit that has it's listed as option 3. It's white, gray, and this really pretty bright blue. So that is what I went with for just something interesting to try. I haven't actually obviously put it on the loom yet, but I'm pretty excited to give it a try. I'm not sure if I'm going to do this first or if I'm going to try something else out of stash yarn. So I've thought about doing these for a present for this summer. So I've got a little bit of time to work with it, and I'm thinking I might want to get just a little bit better at weaving before I start in on these. But it's a kit that I wanted to show you guys. All right. As we're going along, if you guys have questions that you want answered, crochet related, yarn related, things like that, I've got one more thing to show you, and then that's going to lead into me pulling my computer out and showing you guys some things on Ravelry. But if you guys have questions about yarn, crochet, Ravelry, anything like that, I'd be happy to answer those as you throw them up in chat, or once I've got my computer out to show some things on there. All right. The last thing that I've got to show you is something that is not super interesting, but the way that I went about getting it is what I want to talk about mostly. So this is Madelinetosh Tosh Sock yarn. It's a very pretty yarn. I've had it before. I made a shawl out of it, and I gave the shawl to my mom. And now that I've changed up my hair a little bit and changed the colors in my hair, I really wish I had the shawl. And so I went online and I was going to order more and found out that this yarn is discontinued. So it's just a really pretty blue. It's got lots of purples. But what I really like are the little hints of like green, kind of a greenish yellow color in here. There's just like little bits and pieces mixed in with all of like the dark blues and purples and magentas. So, and it really reminded me of the way that I had my hair dyed most recently, and then it kind of got stuck in my brain and I just couldn't let it go. I really wanted the yarn again, and I'm not totally sure what I'm going to make with it, but I knew that I really wanted this particular colorway. I looked through a store that has more yarn than I can even describe to you, and I found nothing, one, that was even similar to this colorway, and two, that made me as happy as I knew this would. So I started searching around online. I couldn't find it anywhere. It's been discontinued. The store I went to even carries Madelinetosh. They didn't have it. Madelinetosh makes a couple of colors that are not totally different, but different enough that they weren't what I wanted. So I'm going to show you how I came about finding this yarn and what you can do if you're in a similar situation. So I'm going to pull my laptop out and wake it up. Wow, is it dusty? I'm glad it's not on camera. All right. Give us just 1 second. We'll switch over to the laptop view. Yep, we're good. Okay. So from the Ravelry page, I'm going to show you what I did to find this yarn. So you can go over here in the quick search. I tend to use this search up here. And we are looking for Tosh Sock. And we're going to search by yarns. And it didn't like my singular word search for Tosh Sock, so I'm going to choose what it's suggesting. And so I found Tosh Sock by Madelinetosh, and so we're going to pick that. All right, so now I'm to the general yarn information page, and this is the yarn that I'm looking for. They've got a single image over here of what Tosh Sock looks like. And so what I'm going to do is go into the colorways. choose that, and then there's just a list of all the colors. So some of these have numbers in front, and so they're sorted first by number. And then if you go in a page, or maybe two, yeah, all of a sudden the numbers kind of drop off. And so you got to be a little bit careful looking through colorways because they can be a bit of a mess. And some companies are not as good as others at keeping their pages cleaned up. But then all the color, so you can see the numbers all went away and now they're listed in alphabetical order. And I knew that the name of the color that I was looking for was Mandala. So we're going to go find Mandala. Jump a couple pages here. Okay. So I found Mandala, and you can see there's 174 stashed right now and 137 projects made from that yarn. So if you had gone to the store and you bought this yarn and you wanted to see what you were going to do with it, you could click projects and see what other people have made. So here's all different people who've used Mandala in a project. You can see how it works up. But more importantly, I think I like to use this feature to go and find what it actually looks like. So if I'm doing shopping online, and like you might be doing now because you can't go out, you can go on Ravelry and look around and see what it looks like in different people's projects and really get a feel for what it's going to look like in person. Because if you look at a yarn photographed poorly versus a yarn photographed in various different lights, you can really get a sense of what it looks like. So one of the things that you can look for is pictures taken outside. So here's socks, and you can see that lighting is maybe a little bit better than something taken inside somebody's house in their basement or something like that. Unless, of course, they're lit for a studio like we are. But yeah, so this, just all different pictures of this yarn. But yeah, anyway, so what I did, instead of choosing projects, I chose stashed. So if you choose stashed, then you get to see all of the stash pictures. And this can be another good way of, trying to figure out what a yarn looks like in person. But if you go over here to status, there's a number of yarns so you've got a choice here. There's all used up. That's somebody's used it for a project and there's none left. There's in stash, so 121 of them are just in boxes in people's houses, or they've used them and they didn't document it on Ravelry. There's traded, sold, or gifted. And then there's a box here that says will trade or sell. So if you click will trade or sell, you get 3 listings. And if you click any one of them, let's go back. Here's this one here. This one, they've got 74 out of 100 grams. So they use 26 grams for some other project. And they've got 74 left. And they're willing to sell the rest for $15. And so you can see they just used a little bit of it on this pillow here, because they've got the project linked to it. But yeah, so they've got 74 grams left. And then this person here has a whole skein, and they're willing to ship it for $25. But I found somebody who had 4, and I bought 2 of them, and there are 2 still available. They updated their listing. So, it's a feature that I don't think a lot of people know about. And I don't know, I guess I wanted to share it with you guys in case you ever run into a situation where you need more of a discontinued yarn, or the store that you normally go to is out of something, or you just want to search around and see what people have for sale. I might have to sneeze. I'm okay. Sorry. Yeah, in this case, I used it because it was a discontinued yarn and I really wanted more of it, and there were a few available. So you can use Ravelry's features. Well, Ravelry has so many features, but you can use them in all different ways to kind of help you out in different applications. So if you're considering buying something online, I'll go to the stash and see what it really looks like, in person. The other thing is depending on the dyer. So Madelinetosh is a pretty big dye operation, and their colors tend to be pretty consistent. So from one batch to the next, they're pretty similar. But if you're going with an indie dyer, you might find that January's yarn and June's yarn don't really look anything the same.
Is there one you can think of that you could look and see if there's pictures that look way different?
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think who. I guess let's go with Oink. That's who's coming into mind right now. All right, so this is just the first indie dyer that popped into my head. Doesn't look like they've got colorways stashed. Let's see. I can't imagine those are all the same color, so I'm not sure what's up with that. Actually, you know what? I've got a better. Oh, whoops. I've got an idea. Let me think of what the name of the expression fiber arts. So, expression fiber arts is pretty well known for their photography, and how just like crazy their yarn looks in pictures. They've got some really, really awesome photography going on. And they've got these inspiration pictures. But a lot of times when things look so crazy nice, it's hard to tell what it's actually going to look like in person. And so I'm sure this yarn is beautiful, but if you want a real feel for how it's actually going to look when you get it, this is a really good application for this. So if we go to Expression Fiber Arts and we look at their yarn, let's just see if we can find one in their shop. What's that? Oh, okay. Oh. So let's go to their Resilient sock. I've ordered that before. You need me to reach up and rotate it? How do I do that? Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Here's where we're at. Okay, so we're on the Resilient sock. I can go and find the Resilient sock listed. So there's the Resilient Superwash Merino sock, and we look at the colorways. And let's find one on their website. Let's try Alexandrite, because I'm pretty sure that one's been around for a bit. All right, so you can see the picture there. And then let's see if we can find... Of course, it's not one of the ones listed. Let's see what else we can do here. You can tell I didn't totally plan this out. I just wanted to try oxblood. Is that an option? Alright, I'm not doing so well on picking one for comparison. The problem is that they have limited edition colorways that don't last very long, and so finding ones that are still on the website and people have gotten and had time to stash is... Oh wait, I know I saw Red Velvet. Let's go with that one. Alright, now I gotta find it again, though. There it is. Okay. Alright, so here's Red Velvet Rose on the website. You can see really intense, deep burgundy reds with, like, hints of brighter, less burgundy red. Kind of more of a rose red. And if we actually go to people's pictures, you can see a bunch of people have used the image from the website, but there are 3 people who actually took pictures. And I would say that this looks a lot plainer red rather than these really dark spots that you're seeing here with like a red highlight. It looks like it's all more one color based on that person's picture. And if we go to this person's picture, again, I would say this looks very singular color, which is fine, but I think I would have expected...
Well, but that's heavily dependent on the CRI of the light. CRI
right.
Is what would cause that to not show up.
So my husband's saying it's heavily dependent on the CRI of the light, which is how much the light shows... or how well the light is showing color and full spectrum. So it could be that it's not showing up well. This picture makes it look a bit more like there's 2 different colors, though it's heavily shadowed. So this is a harder one because you can't tell. Again, what I really like are pictures taken outside. Daylight is full spectrum light, and so that's the most ideal.
That might actually give you a good idea of what it will look like in your house if you don't have fancy lighting.
Yeah, so what he's saying is it might give you a good idea of what it's going to look like in your house if you don't have high CRI light bulbs. So if you've got just normal lights, any of the LEDs that are popular, or any of the fluorescent tube lights that are popular, compact fluorescent tubes, the curly Q bulbs, then it might look different than how Expression Fiber Arts is photographing it very clearly, professionally, in some sort of lit studio. Yeah. So... Anyway, this is just a feature that I wanted to share with you guys, so you guys could see how I use Ravelry, but also how you can use it to help you out as you're looking through, different yarns, and if you're considering any purchasing online, there's sometimes it's really hard to tell if things are well photographed. And sometimes they're just not. I've actually found Premiere's website to not be great. I almost always have to go. I can pull up. I'll give you a really good specific example here. I know exactly what yarn I want to find. Hopefully they still have it on their website. So let's go to DK Colors. Premiere DK Colors, which appears to be on sale, if anyone's interested. So right here is a pretty oceany looking yarn. kind of okay, but like doesn't really grab my attention. That is this colorway. So this beautiful blanket that I've shown you guys a whole bunch of times with like gray and these bright like aqua blues, that's the same colorway as this. So all of the spots where it's showing really, really green, if you want to flip back to the, you're going to do a picture-in-picture type of deal there. So you can see on the screen, it's real green and like mossy, or not mossy, but like algae-y. Kind of like a green blue. That's this colorway. So I don't know what they were doing or what happened here. But that picture very much makes me not trust the pictures on Premiere's website. Now, not all of them are that bad. So, for example, this parrot one, it's pretty close. The colors are weird. Let's switch back to the computer view. It needs just a second to switch over. The computer's needs a second to catch up. Oh. So. Yeah. So, these colors are a little bit saturated. I don't know. They're a little bit wonky, but they're not a terrible approximation. But that teal blue is pretty terrible by comparison.
Are you sure that's the same colorway?
Mm-hmm. So if we go in and find DK colors, unless I'm positive that this is called teal blue and that's called teal blue. They could have changed the formula, which is worth finding out. Hold on a second. We can't search DK colors inside Expression Arts. All right, let's find DK colors in yarns. Let's get out of here and find it over here. DK colors. Colorways. Teal blue. So if you actually go into people's stash pictures, this person here has used the color off of their website, or the picture off their website. But if you actually look at the people's yarn, it looks just like mine. It's all blue and gray and not blue and green. On the flip side, if you had expected blue and green and you really liked that oceany palette, you are going to be very disappointed when this shows up. So I always, if I'm buying online, I don't want to say always, but 9 times out of 10, I come over to Ravelry and look at stash pictures if I can at all. And really you can get a feel for how different yarns look in different people's houses. Like this yarn here, this person's picture looks very cobalt. The yarn looks really blue, and not teal at all. Where this yarn looks a bit more like Premiere's picture. I can still see that this is gray and not green, but it has a much greener hue to it. Where this yarn here looks very much like the blanket in front of me. So, you got to kind of click around and see how people photographed things. And then this yarn is just wrong because it doesn't have any white in it. But yeah, you can kind of move around and see how other people photograph things. So hopefully that's a bit helpful to you guys, especially since, again, if you want yarn right now, you pretty much are limited to ordering online. Most of us are under, stay-at-home orders. And so, but you can still buy online from both indie dyers and from big box stores. And so if you want a little bit more assurance of what you're actually going to get, Ravelry's yarn pages are very useful in that case. Let's see. Just catching up on some comments. Color reminds me of Malbrigo. Wales Road, my favorite yarn color ever. So let's look up Malbrigo's Wales Road. I feel like I might actually... I think one of my scarves is made of that colorway. Alright, so we got Malbrigo, worsted weight yarn, and we're looking for Wales Road. Let's go back out to that project that I found and actually click the colorway. Alright, here's Wales Road. It's not the one that I was thinking of, but it is very pretty, and it does look very similar. Wales Road looks like it's maybe a bit more blue heavy than this one is a pretty even mix, though I guess it probably is slightly more blue heavy depending on what light you look at it in. But yeah, it is a very nice colorway. So I feel like I own it. I'm not positive that I actually do, though. But again, if you were looking to purchase some, or you just needed a little bit to finish off a project, sometimes you can go in here and see what people have it listed for. And pick up a bit. So these people don't have prices listed. Here's one. One left, $10, includes shipping. So if you were looking, you can kind of browse around and find random yarn. So sometimes if you just really want to try something out and you're not sure about it, and you can kind of go searching around and looking through people's stashes. You can even, like, if you just knew that you wanted to try out a Malbrigo yarn, but you didn't really care about colorway, you can go and find, let's clear this out of here, clear that out of there. So if, like, Malbrigo Rios, I really like that. I've shown that here before. You can go on colorways. Maybe I can't look at all the colorways. That's interesting. I thought that I could look at all the colorways and do a in-depth search. Okay, from here I can. So there's no button, but okay, so what I did there was picked any one color. Let me go back out and show you how I did that. Come on. Alright, so I went to colorways, then I just picked the first one, and it brought me to this search page, and then I just cleared the colorway out. And so now I have all of the stashes of all the different colors, and what I can do is go to the Will Trader sell, and so 357 people have Malbrigo Rios that they're willing to part with. And so you can kind of just search through here. This person has tons of it. Looks like these all look like they were taken by the same person. Could be a yarn shop. Could be just somebody who buys a lot of yarn like me. But yeah, as you scroll through, you can just kind of look around. And like this one appeals to me. This is 4 skeins, $60 plus shipping. And you'd get all 4 of these. So a lot of people will tell you, you know, if it's a smoke-free house or something like that, or you can just send a message and ask. And then to actually purchase the yarn, I didn't actually say how you would go about doing this, but you would just go over here and click send message, and then you'd be connected through the messaging system on Ravelry, which I'm not going to. You'd have you've got your little message thing up here in the corner. And so if they respond to you, you'll have like a little, there's like a little Boston Terrier that pops up. That's the Ravelry logo or like mascot. And then there'll be like a little, number on your message system if somebody sent you a message. So, anyway, that's really all I had to share with you guys. Let's see. Am I caught up on comments? Oh, Helen says that she's looking to make something out of Copenhagen yarn. I'm not familiar with Copenhagen yarn, and since I've got my Ravelry open, Copenhagen. Looks like maybe from Lang Yarn. I'm not sure if this is the same one. There were a couple of options. This is a brand new yarn, if it's the same one. Just came out late January this year, so hasn't been out very long. It is supposedly organic cotton worked into a knit tube, and it's 100% cotton. Okay, maybe let's try that. That seems more reasonable. All right, so there's also a well, that was discontinued several years ago. So it could just be that she's got it in her stash. If she's still watching, maybe she'll clarify who makes Copenhagen yarn or what kind of yarn it is. So if you had a yarn, so let's say it was this Loops and Threads yarn and she was looking to make something and didn't know what she wanted to make. Let's see. Mine kind is thick acrylic, so that's probably this one. So let's say that you've got some of that and you're not totally sure what you want to make with it. You can come to the yarn page, and you can go in here, and at the top you can see there's pattern ideas, but then there's actually projects. So pattern ideas I don't always find super useful. It's just trying to pick projects based on the yarn's information. But what I really like is the project page. And then you can hit advance so you can see all of the projects. But this is all projects that people have actually made with those yarns. And I think I've shown this before, but you can go over on the side. And you should use these heavily rather than using the search bar. The search bar is going to search for specific words. The filters over here on the side are actually going to filter by things that people entered. So in this case, was it a crochet or a knitting, loom knitting? Oh, and weaving does show up there, even though you can't search by it normally. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, so you can come over here and click on crochet if you want to do a crochet project. And then maybe you want, well, you can just start browsing crochet projects and see what people have made. I'm seeing lots of cowls. I've seen some hats, some mittens, an alpaca hat, lots of interesting things, a couple baby blankets. So there's a lot of power to Ravelry that people don't either know how to use or forget that the features are there. And you can really use it to your advantage to help find what you really want. So here are just a whole bunch of options in what you could make out of Copenhagen that other people already have. I also like to see how it's going to work up. So this looks like it works up in somewhat long stripes. So that helps me choose the kind of project that I would want to work up. There are certain projects that look good in long stripes, and then there are certain projects that you would prefer much shorter color changes. So like this baby blanket that I worked up has nice long color changes and gives you a very striped look. However, there may be other projects where you wouldn't want to do that. Like if you made a very thin scarf, you'd have giant chunks rather than thin stripes. So, just something to look for, but this is some features that I think a lot of people don't know about and don't use of Ravelry, but I think are very, very helpful. All right. Have you tried Red Heart's new Italian story? What's that? Oh. Robin J. Hook is asking, have I tried Red Heart's new Italian story? Does it say Lucy yarn? Tried last night, the dark blue, and it bled on my needles and hands. Not happy. Bought it in dark green too. Huh. So, Red Heart Italian story Lucy was a yarn that I thought was similar to something. We were looking up. All right, so here's this is the one where we were looking for similar yarns to Winter Nights. It was the only one that I could find that had sequins mixed in. So Lion Brand makes Winter Nights in like icy pastels that I did a review on, and we were looking for like competitor type yarns, and this was as close as we found. So one of the things that you can do here, if you're having a problem like that, is you can go and look for comments, and nobody has commented. So Roving J. Hook, you might want to mention, like you could come on here and leave a comment saying that the blue bled on your hands, just so other people know to look out for that. The other thing you can do is go into the projects and see if any of the comments mention it. So if I find somebody, who worked on the dark blue, and nobody's actually mentioning that. So I wonder if you had a unique problem or if people just haven't mentioned it. But yeah.
Have you ever had a yarn do that?
I've had one yarn ever. It was an indie dyed yarn, and I don't think that they had properly set the dye. Where I got a little bit of color on my hands, and it was not bad. It's very, very weird. It would mean that it's not properly washed and set. And it's particularly weird because it's a Red Heart yarn. And it's like 30% acrylic. It's 30% acrylic and almost 50% nylon and 20% mohair. So when you dye plastics, they're usually dope dyed, which means that, so plastic yarns are extruded, like think a teeny tiny fuzzy pumper barbershop. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like with the Play-Doh where it's got the holes in the top and you squeeze it and then the like stuff comes out. Plastic yarns are made somewhat similarly, but they pre-color the dope usually, and dye it right in. Not always. There are other ways of dyeing, but that's usually the most common that I'm aware of.
Doesn't that mean 70% of it isn't acrylic? You said it was mohair, which is goat.
It's 20% goat and 80% plastic. Polyester, acrylic, nylon. 46% nylon, 28% acrylic, 6% polyester. But all of that is plastic, and it should almost all be dope dyed.
Well, but what I'm getting at is except the mohair. They mix the mohair in,
Right,
the
mohair would have been dyed, would have been over dyed. Meaning, the yarn would have been dyed. So, it's odd, but yes, they would have had to dye that. You're right.
So it could just be a manufacturing defect, like a current manufacturing defect if it's a
Yeah.
ball.
Yeah, so what my husband's saying is it could be a current manufacturing defect. If it's a new ball, like if it's a restock or something like that, rather than the people who had it before. Since this yarn has been out for a couple of years, the people who've had it longer might not have had that problem. I don't know. The only other thing that I can think is that if you had something on your hands, you might have, like, basically made the dye soluble, like sort of dissolved it onto your hands. If you would just put lotion on or something like that.
Hand sanitizer.
Oh yeah, if you'd put on a whole bunch of hand sanitizer somewhat recently, alcohols might bring the dye out. Or I suppose if you like had it in your purse and had spilled something on it, like hand sanitizer, that it might have loosened up the dye. Other than that, I'm not sure.
But they said they're gonna email her.
Yeah. So yeah. She says that she's gonna email Red Heart, so that's probably the best solution. If you are already done using it or like you were finishing up a project, usually rinsing with a little bit of vinegar will fix the problem. The vinegar will finish setting the dyes. And that should take care of the problem. As far as getting it to stop bleeding. But if you just started a project and it like immediately caused a problem, I would just email Red Heart and get them to replace it. So.
When you say rinse and vinegar, you mean a bowl of water with a little bit of vinegar?
Yeah. So when I say rinse in vinegar, I mean a bowl of water that you're gonna like wash your project. So I have like a pretty big sort of salad size bowl, and fill it with like lukewarm water, like barely not cold water, and maybe half a cup of vinegar poured in, and then just swirl it around to let the yarn set. You can use a little bit more vinegar, a little bit less vinegar. It doesn't really matter, but the acid is what sets those dyes in the case of acid dyes. So, which in the case of indie dyers, that fixes that problem. I don't know what Red Heart uses as far as dyes, but that my bet would be on that would fix it. And if it doesn't, it shouldn't do any harm. Vinegar is pretty harmless to anything else. It's such a weak acid that it shouldn't make that big of a difference. Clean hands, no lotion or sanitizer, fresh out of the box, did 2 rounds, washed hands, tried again, blue hands again. Yeah,
They should grab the label, or at least not throw it away, so that Red Heart can look at the dye lot.
Yeah, what my husband's saying is make sure that you don't throw the label away. When you email Red Heart, you should give them the dye lot information. So on the label, somewhere there should be a spot that indicates what lot it was. So not just the color of the yarn, but there should be information on the dye lot. A lot of times Red Heart yarns are dye lot, like they'll say no dye lot. But something like this probably will have a dye lot. It's usually the really mass produced, like the Red Heart Super Saver has no dye lot. So let me see. So this is a Lion brand yarn, but you can see on the label here. Let me see if I can block enough light that you can read it. But along the top here, it has information on the lot numbers and the color number and stuff like that. Sorry, there's a light that's... There it is. So you can see along here, it gives the color number and then lot information. So in this case, this is color number 123, lot number 115509. For this particular batch of Kobu. The Red Heart lots should have similar information on them. That might not be in exactly the spot. It is usually near the barcode, though. Lot information tends to be. So, but yeah, good luck with that. I hope Red Heart fixes that and helps you out there. I would expect customer service to potentially be kind of slow. Pretty much in all industries right now. So that's the only thing I would caution is that just be aware that pretty much everything's shut down. So I'm sure they're working in some capacity from home, but who knows how many people they've got working full time. So just keep that in mind. All right. That's really all I have to show. If you guys have any more questions, I'd love to sit and chat with you a little bit longer. Maybe show you something else on Ravelry or something like that. But otherwise, like I said, that's really all I've got to show tonight. And yeah. So I'm trying to think. So right now I'm going back and forth between what I'm going to put on my loom. I think I said this earlier. I might try like a shawl or something like that, like a wrap for myself. Or like I said, I could move on to these dishcloths that I showed a little bit ago. So Ruben J just says thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for asking questions and chatting with us. So, but yeah, so I haven't decided, for those of you who don't weave, the first step to like starting weaving a new project is warping, which is extremely tedious. It's pretty time consuming and you just take your strands and you run them through the loom, and then you have to predetermine the length of the fabric that you're going to make. And then the actual weaving process is making the weft, which is the yarns that go across. And that I found very relaxing and fun to do. But the warping wasn't not fun. It just was a lot of work. And then I made a couple of mistakes while I did it, and so it takes some time, and so I haven't, one, gotten up the motivation to do it again, and two, haven't totally decided what I want to do yet. And then I guess the other thing that I need to do is to decide what I'm going to do with this Mandala yarn. I've got 200 grams of it. That should make a really nice size shawl. I only have a couple of 200-gram shawls, but I find that I wear them more often than my 100-gram shawls. And those are the ones that I tend to grab if I'm just grabbing them to go do something. So, I need to really choose a nice open pattern for that and get started on that, because something I want for myself. So, it's been a while since I've made a really nice shawl for myself. Probably the last one I made was for my wedding. And that was 18 months or so ago. So, all right. Well, I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap things up for the evening. Thank you all for joining us. I would absolutely love to hear your ideas for a stream next week. I really enjoy streaming, and I think it's really important, especially while we're all cooped up inside, to be able to continue to talk and interact with each other. But because I'm not able to go out and shop, and I'm not able to go and get new things to come share with you, coming up with topics has been a little bit of a struggle. So if you have absolutely any suggestions on what you guys would like to talk about, I would love to hear it. And I might dig back through some old streams and see what people have suggested, or go back through some comments and see what people have suggested. But if you, like I said, if you've got any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. You can leave them in the comment section below. You can message me on Instagram or on Facebook at Experiments in Crafting. There's a little bit of a Facebook group put together, and a couple people have actually posted on it on Facebook. So if you go to the Facebook page, so you can go to Facebook, search Experiments in Crafting, you'll get to the page, and then there will be a spot that says join the group, and you can join the group, and then you can share your projects and things like that with each other. So if you're looking for a space to share some projects or get some feedback or advice, you are welcome to do so there. It's not a heavily used group yet, but I would love for it to be. So feel free to join. You should be automatically approved. If you're not, we should get a message and be able to approve you. There's some questions that have to be answered in order to join, and it's like 3 questions or something like that. But and then I think you have to have been a member of Facebook for some amount of time. And I don't remember what it's set to, but it's like 6 months or something like that. So if you're relatively new to Facebook, or like changed accounts or something like that, it might not work for you. But anyway, you can post in any of those platforms. So message me or post a comment or something like that. I'd love to hear your ideas on what you guys would like to talk about next week. So with that being said, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. Thanks for watching.